My name is Emma, and I'm 27 years old. I work as a graphic designer for a small company in the city. I look like an ordinary person and live a pretty simple life. But there's one thing about me that's different. I notice things that most people miss. This small skill led me to a series of events I never imagined. It all began on a cold Friday evening. My coworker Claire invited me to a casual gathering at a local bar. She said it was just to relax after work, but I suspected she wanted to set me up with someone. I wasn't really excited, but Claire's energy is hard to ignore, so I agreed. The bar was crowded with people talking and laughing, with soft music playing in the background. Claire and I joined a group at a long wooden table. There were all kinds of people, some outgoing and charming, others a little shy but kind. At the end of the table, I noticed a man who seemed different. He wasn't loud or showy, but he had a calm, confident vibe. His name was Jake. We all introduced ourselves, and small talk began. Jake spoke in a deep, steady voice about his job as an engineer. When he looked at me and smiled, I felt a little spark of curiosity. Claire leaned over and whispered, "He's single, you know." I rolled my eyes at her, but secretly, I was interested. As the night went on, Jake and I started talking more. We chatted about books, travel, and random things we both liked. It felt natural, like we were in our own little world, even though the bar was still noisy. Before the night ended, we exchanged phone numbers. I left feeling curious about him. In the following weeks, Jake and I spent a lot of time together. We kept our dates simple: coffee, walks in the park, and casual dinners. Being with him felt easy. He was kind and paid attention to what I said. But there was one thing about him I couldn't figure out. He didn't like talking about his past or his family. I respected his privacy, but it made me wonder. One evening, Jake invited me to his house for dinner. I was excited to see his place and learn more about him. His house was cozy and full of books and pictures. While he cooked, I walked around looking at everything. On the fireplace mantel, I noticed a photo of Jake as a kid with his parents. But the photo was strange. Someone had cut out the face of the woman next to him. "Curious about the photo?" Jake asked, making me jump. He was standing behind me holding 2 glasses of wine. "A little," I said. "It's an interesting picture." Jake's face changed for a moment, but then he smiled. "That's my dad. The rest is complicated." I didn't ask more. I could tell it was a sensitive subject. But that night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Why would someone cut out part of a family photo? Things became more unusual when Jake's sister Laura came into the picture. She was bubbly and full of energy, with a lot of stories about their childhood. Jake introduced us during dinner, and while she seemed nice, something about her felt a little off. She talked about how she looked after Jake when their mom left. "Jake was only 8 when she left us," Laura said with a sad look. "It was just me, Jake, and our dad after that." Jake's face tightened, and he stared at his plate. I could feel the tension in the air. Laura started showing up a lot. She'd come over with food or insist on helping Jake with small things. At first, I thought she was being a caring sister, but soon, it felt like she was interfering. She had opinions about everything: Jake's house, his clothes, even his diet. Jake didn't seem bothered, but it started to annoy me. The breaking point came when Jake and I planned a weekend trip to a cabin in the mountains. On the morning we were leaving, Laura showed up at Jake's door with a packed bag. "I thought I'd join you guys," she said cheerfully. Jake looked surprised. "Laura, it's a trip for Emma and me." "Oh, come on," she said, walking inside. "I'll stay out of your way." Jake hesitated and then gave in. Our romantic getaway quickly turned awkward. Laura dominated conversations and interrupted any private moments. One evening, while Jake was outside, she turned to me with a cold smile. "You're different from Jake's exes," she said. "They usually don't stick around long. I guess I can be a little intimidating." Her words sent chills through me. I forced a smile, but inside, I was uneasy. This wasn't normal sibling behavior. It felt like she was trying to push me out. After the trip, I started noticing more troubling signs. Laura invited Jake over for dinner often, but she didn't want me to come. She'd call late at night for small favors. And when I talked to Jake about moving in together, he hesitated, worried about upsetting Laura. The final straw was when I found out Laura had been looking through my social media. She left strange comments on old posts, making it clear she was watching me. I knew I had to talk to Jake. One evening I told him, "Jake, we need to talk about Laura." He looked nervous. "What about her?" "She's crossing boundaries," I said. "I know she cares about you, but it's affecting us." Jake sighed. "I know. She's been this way since our mom left. She thinks she has to protect me." "But it's not protecting you," I said. "It's controlling you." Jake nodded slowly. "You're right. I need to talk to her." Jake started creating space between him and Laura. He didn't answer her late-night calls and spent more time with me. But Laura didn't take it well. She started showing up uninvited, growing more upset. One day, she confronted me outside Jake's house. "You're trying to take him away from me," she said angrily. "He's all I have." I stood firm. "I'm not taking him away. He's still your brother, but he's also my partner. You need to respect that." Her expression softened briefly, but then she stormed off. Jake later talked to her seriously, explaining that he loved her but needed space. Over time, Laura started to back off. She focused on her own life and even reconnected with an old boyfriend. Jake and I moved in together, finally free to enjoy our relationship. Life became calmer after that, but every now and then, traces of Jake's past would resurface. One day, while unpacking some old boxes, I found a diary belonging to Laura. I hesitated before opening it, unsure if I should. But curiosity got the better of me. The entries painted a picture of a young girl shouldering too much responsibility. She wrote about how their mother's absence forced her to grow up fast, and how she felt Jake was the only family she had left. The diary explained a lot, but it also made me sad. Laura had spent years trying to fill the role of both sister and mother, and in doing so, she lost sight of her own life. I shared this with Jake, and he nodded thoughtfully. "I've always known she struggled, but reading it like this, it makes me feel guilty." "You don't need to feel guilty," I said gently. "But maybe this is a chance to rebuild your relationship with her on healthier terms." Jake reached out to Laura, and over time their relationship began to mend. She even started seeing a therapist, which seemed to help her let go of some of her burdens. As for us, Jake and I grew closer. We got engaged a year later and started planning our wedding. Laura surprised me by offering to help. I was hesitant at first, but she proved she genuinely wanted to support us. On our wedding day, Laura gave a heartfelt speech. "Emma, you've brought out the best in Jake. I'm grateful to see him so happy, and I'm thankful to have you as a sister now." Her words brought tears to my eyes. The journey had been tough, but it was worth it. Together, we had all grown, healed, and found a way to move forward. Sometimes life throws unexpected challenges our way, but those challenges often lead to stronger bonds and deeper love. Jake and I now share a life full of laughter, understanding, and hope for the future.